In this world, a century ago, a spiritual contract was established, granting women the ability to awaken spirit forms, and men the power of spirit gifts, enabling them to battle the monsters that also emerged during that time. The manhwa follows Han, who, before being transported to this world, lived a submissive life, constantly catering to his abusive girlfriend, Xiaomei, massaging her and preparing home-cooked bentos. However, after crossing over as Han, he resolved to change his ways and stop being a pushover. On the same day, Xiaomei awakened as an S-class spirit and, believing herself to have outgrown him, immediately broke off their relationship. Unexpectedly, she would soon regret her decision, because Han awakened as an SSS-grade Heavenly Spirit Contract Master, completely reversing their roles and turning the tables. The story opens with a flashback, explaining that 100 years ago, a meteorite carrying Zerg eggs crashed, leading to a devastating war. Humanity was losing until a spiritual contract was created, allowing women to awaken spirit forms and men's spirit gifts, turning the tide. Now, at Youth Orvi Academy's annual awakening ceremony, a student named Gu Lin awakens a C-grade sword, expressing disappointment. The protagonist, Han, having just crossed over into this world, awaits his turn. Next, Xiaomei awakens a powerful S-grade immortal blood spear, impressing everyone, including an elder who notes its rarity and double traits. Following her awakening, Xiaomei immediately approaches Han and breaks up with him, stating they are now in different worlds due to her S-class spirit. Han, however, recalls his past subservience to her before he crossed over and resolves not to be a licking dog anymore. Onlookers mock Han, but he retorts, wondering if they're worried he might awaken an S-class talent or higher. Xiaomei scoffs at the idea. When Han's turn comes, there's initially no response, leading Xiaomei and others to mock him as a waste. Suddenly, a brilliant light erupts, and it's revealed that Han has awakened an SSS-grade Heavenly Spirit Contract Master talent called Divine Resurrection. Xiaomei is stunned, and the crowd erupts, recalling that the last SSS-level master saved humanity. Immediately, several girls flock to Han, offering themselves, but he politely declines, thinking they would only hinder him. His talents details are shown. Divine Light restores spirits, Observation doubles attributes with new swords, and Heavenly Tao, unlimited contracts. Xiaomei then approaches Han, apologizing for her earlier words and asking to reconcile. And when she offers to let him hold her hand or even kiss her, he flatly refuses. As Xiaomei tries to negotiate, Han internally plans to use his Divine Light. Other girls taunt Xiaomei for her sudden change of heart, then shift their mockery to Xiaoyue, the school beauty, who only awakened a useless E-class spirit. As Xiaoyue despairs, she stumbles, and Han catches her. He sees her spirit is an E-level Fuchikin, one of the 10 great ancient artifacts, but currently weak with unawakened divinity. Han, realizing his divine resurrection could help, invites Xiaoyue to contract with him. The surrounding girls are shocked, and Xiaomei furiously questions his choice. Principal Chen Pu intervenes, advising Han against a hasty contract with an E-level spirit, reminding him of his duty to humanity. Just then, Zhao Hu, the protector of Shenlan City and Xiaomei's godfather, arrives. Zhao Hu aggressively confronts Han for bullying Xiaomei, grabbing him and threatening to ban anyone from contracting with him. Xiaomei demands an apology and a contract. Han calmly asks if they are worthy. Enraged, Zhao Hu attacks, but Principal Chen Pu blocks the punch. Principal Chen Pu tries de-escalates, and Zhao agrees to visit Dao's, but only if Han makes the contract with the trash Xiaoyue, or else he'll destroy him. Undeterred, Han declares he will contract with Xiaoyue and no one can change his mind. He reassures a sorry Xiaoyue that she deserves this. They begin the contract, and Han activates his Divine Light. Xiaoyue cries out as energy envelops them. The Fuchikin transforms, and Xiaoyue's spirit is revealed to be SSS level, an ancient magic weapon with sword and gallant heart divinity. Han marvels at Xiaoyue's newly awakened SSS-level spirit, noting its all-around capabilities in killing, restoring, and assisting, with no shortcomings. Xiaoyue, still dazed, exclaims her disbelief at changing from E-level to SSS level, and thanks Han, who replies, "You're welcome." Meanwhile, Xiaomei complains to her godfather, Zhao Hu, about being bullied and humiliated by Han, demanding he make it up to her. Zhao Hu reassures her, stating that since Hanzhan contracted an E-level spirit, his talent is now useless, and he will continue to make things difficult for him in the city, boasting that he is the sky here and has already arranged tomorrow's Spirit Master test. Xiao Mei thanks him, but Zhao Hu asks how she plans to repay him. She coyly suggests going to their old place to pay him back there, and he agrees, looking forward to a good time tonight. A few hours later, news reports flash across a screen detailing how the SSS-ranked Ivy Academy student Hanzhan degraded himself by contracting an E-ranked spirit out of greed for beauty. Commentators call his actions ridiculous and self-destructive, while Lieutenant Zhao Hu, acting head of the Deep Blue City Protectors, expresses disappointment. Public petitions call for Hanzhan's expulsion. Zhao Hu, looking at his phone, smirks, pleased that the negative news he spread about Hanzhan worked. Xiao Mei, from a bed, praises his amazingness. Zhao Hu, however, dismisses the public opinion as mere foreshadowing, vowing to show Hanzhan what cruelty is when the test begins. The next morning, Hanzhan and Xia Youwei are at the cafeteria. Other students whisper about Xia Youwei being the E-class trash spirit and Hanzhan being deceived by her beauty. Xia Youwei apologizes, but Hanzhan tells her to be confident and eat more for the upcoming test, ignoring the clowns. Suddenly, a young man, Wang Lumao, approaches, introducing himself as Xiao Mei's new spirit master and remarking that Hanzhan isn't as good as people say. Hanzhan asks who he is, and upon hearing Wang Lumao's introduction, Xia Youwei snickers at his name, which sounds like Wang Cuckold. Wang Lumao angrily asks why she's laughing, but Hanzhan says he just thought of something interesting. Xiao Mei then appears, telling Wang Lumao not to associate with Hanzhan, calling him a useless spirit contract master who will soon be exiled, and then tells Wang Lumao it's time for the test. Wang Lumao warns Hanzhan, "Just you wait." At the testing arena, an announcer explains that the Spirit Master test has different difficulty levels, and passing one level means qualification. He then calls forth the first pair, Xiao Mei and Wang Lumao. They enter the arena, and a large, monstrous black oyster appears, designated as Test Difficulty 1. Wang Lumao tells Xiao Mei it's time to start and prepares for battle. The oyster roars, and Wang Lumao charges, yelling, "Break it for me!" He attacks with Xiao Mei's spirit weapon, striking the oyster. He attacks again, shouting, "Kill!" and a massive energy blast hits the monster. Onlookers marvel at the S-Class Spirit Master's strength and his ability to penetrate the thick-skinned oyster. In an observation room, officials watch. Wei Qing, in charge of the first region, notes that they are still struggling to kill the bug, which is worse than the laborer group. Another official, Lin Jingxuan, in charge of the second district, observes that as an S-ranked spirit, Xiao Mei should be a one-hit kill but is 20% weaker, theorizing that an uncontrolled lifestyle caused her spiritual source to leak. Wei Qing coughs awkwardly. Back in the arena, the announcer congratulates Xiao Mei and Wang Lumao for passing Combat Difficulty 7 and breaking Ivy Academy's previous record of Level 6. The crowd cheers, acknowledging their S-Class status and eagerly anticipating Hanzhan's turn, expecting to see him fail. The announcer then invites Hanzhan and Xia Youwei to the stage. As they enter, instead of one black oyster, 10 appear. Hanzhan and Xia Youwei are shocked. The crowd questions why there are 10 for difficulty level 1, with some calling it official targeting, and others saying Hanzhan deserves it for picking an E-class spirit. The announcer explains that test difficulty varies, and SSS talents should be 10 times more difficult. A flashback reveals Zhao Hu instructing the announcer to make the test more difficult for Hanzhan and ensure he doesn't pass. The announcer internally apologizes to Hanzhan, thinking, "Who asked you to offend someone you shouldn't offend?" The 10 black oysters then roar and advance on Hanzhan and Xia Youwei. Undeterred by the 10 black oysters, Hanzhan confidently declares, "Bring it on," and channels energy through Xia Youwei's Fuxichin spirit. A wave of power radiates outwards, instantly obliterating all 10 monsters. The crowd is stunned, with one onlooker exclaiming it happened in seconds and another questioning if it was really an E-level spirit. Someone else remarks that if she's an E-level waste, then they are worse than waste. In the observation room, Lin Jingxuan asks, "How is this possible? Who is he?" While Wei Qing slams his fist on the console, amazed that Hanzhan killed so many black oysters in 1 second when it took him 30 seconds. Lin Jingxuan notes that while Hanzhan is strong, The test rules weren't followed and the difficulty was increased too much. Zhao Hu interjects, claiming this was a temporary addition by Deep Blue City's protectors, arguing that young people shouldn't waste their talents and set a bad example. He then fumes inwardly, wondering how Han Zhan will kill 20 black oysters next. Wei Qing, however, thinks it's fine, recalling that their tests were the same and that these little guys should have experienced such efforts long ago. An older official, the teacher, expresses interest in seeing Han Zhan's limits. Test difficulty level 2 begins and 20 black oysters appear. Han Zhan then invokes a song that breaks the heart, where to find a soulmate at the end of the world. Blue energy swirls around him as he channels the Fukichikin, and a powerful roar of energy emanates, again destroying all the monsters. Han Zhan, however, remarks, "Is that all? That not enough." The crowd erupts, calling it crazy and a direct slap in the face to the officials. In the observation room, Ye Chu, in charge of the 3rd district, excitedly declares he'll take Han Zhan for District 1. Wei Qing objects, stating District 1 needs a logistics squad and that it's better for newcomers to go to the front lines to die, suggesting Ye Chu take Han Zhan to his 3rd district to grow up first. Ye Chu retorts, asking if Lao Wei wants to steal someone from him and that, since sister-in-law isn't here today, he won't be afraid. Wei Qing threatens Ye Chu, saying he hasn't been beaten up for a long time. Shen Jieqi, in charge of the 4th district, intervenes, suggesting that since the 1st and 3rd districts are main battlefields, Han Zhan should come to the 4th district and start with exploring the ruins. Wei Qing and Ye Chu shout at him to "fuck off!" The teacher silences them. The teacher then asks Lin Jingxuan for his opinion. Lin Jingxuan notes that while the black oysters have thick skin and flesh, the kid either has a restraining effect or the Fukshikin is very powerful, so they can't win by sheer numbers. He proposes adopting the highest standards of evaluation. The teacher agrees. Zhao Hu smirks, thinking, "The highest standard? Han Zhan, let's see what you'll do this time." Back in the arena, the announcer declares that, at the request of their superiors, the test difficulty has been raised to the highest standard. Difficulty level 3 begins, revealing 10 second-order giant lizards and 10 second-order thunderbirds. The crowd gasps, questioning if 20 second-order beasts aren't too much, as the lizards focus on defense and the thunderbirds on damage, a combination too much even for a second-level spirit master. Han Zhan, however, dismisses it, saying, "Come on, that's all. It'll only make me look good." Wang Lumao and Xiao Mei call him arrogant and smug. The Thunderbirds attack with a shriek, and Han Zhan stands ready with the Fukshikin. He then summons armored spirit warriors, shouting, "Kill!" They engage the giant lizards. The Thunderbirds unleash a powerful lightning attack. Han Zhan, channeling the Fukshikin, unleashes a formation-breaking song and shatters the Thunderbirds' attack and launches a counterattack. Onlookers are shocked that he, a spirit master, broke through the attack and counterattacked, defeating an insect several times his size. The remaining monsters look on, bewildered at how he did it. Han Zhan then declares, "Song, formation break," and with a final surge of power from the Fukshikin, he defeats all remaining monsters. The crowd erupts in disbelief as Han Zhan wins again, with onlookers marveling that there are people more monstrous than monsters. Wang Lumao and Xiao Mei stare in shock, wondering how much power Han Zhan is hiding as test difficulty level 3 completed flashes. In the observation room, the officials are equally stunned. Wei Qing notes that Han Zhan killed the giant armored lizard and thunderbird in 2 moves, while Lin Jingxuan remarks that the zither's unpredictability, increasing its spirit by at least 10 times, is unheard of. The teacher questions if Xia Yue's spirit is truly E-level, deeming it impossible. He then summons Afu, who quickly appears and asks for orders. The teacher instructs Afu to check Xia Yue's spirit level, as Afu has the ability to recognize contracted spirit levels. Afu reports that he checked earlier but couldn't identify it, suggesting her situation might be similar to the lady. The teacher muses that if Xia Yue, like Lingjin, was identified as E-class before awakening, but later revealed greater talent, then the reason for her current power could be her contract with Han Zhan, a possibility Afu doesn't rule out. The teacher finds the matter strange and deems it necessary for Lingjin and Han Zhan to meet. He then asks Afu about Lingjin's E-level spirit's name, and Afu replies, Shenong Tripod. Meanwhile, in the arena, Hanjan tells the announcer he wants to continue the challenge. The announcer is surprised, confirms if he's sure, and Hanjan affirms. The announcer wishes him well, and test difficulty 4 begins. Hanjan unleashes another wave of power and then challenges the monsters. Come, show me where my limits are. He effortlessly defeats waves of monsters, clearing test difficulties 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The announcer, astounded, informs Hanjan that he has won 9 levels in a row and it's time to end. Hanjan, however, declares he will continue to challenge difficulty level 10. The crowd calls him crazy, noting that no one has ever successfully challenged level 10 and that it's impossible for a newly awakened genius to beat a third-order monster. Wei Qing remarks that he only challenged level 9 back in his day, but also notes that Hanjan is breaking the historical record for the past century. Lin Jingxuan declares Hanjan a great talent and that he must join the second district, but Ye Chu interjects, asking if Lin Jingxuan wants to steal people from District 1. Lin Jingxuan, surrounded by dark energy, retorts, why not? And also powers up. Ye Chu vows that Hanjan must go to District 1 with him, and Lin Jingxuan proposes they compete, with the winner taking Hanjan. Shen Jeki coughs, asking if it's appropriate for a spirit master who can draw on psychic energy and heal the wounded to go to the front line. Liu Jingchun, in charge of the 5th district, appears, asking if Liu Wei is also there to rob him. He argues that Hanjan should follow him to the 5th district, where the survival rate of spirit masters on the battlefield is increased by at least 30%. The other district leaders shout, no way, and power up, ready to fight over Hanjan. Suddenly, the teacher intervenes with a powerful shout of, enough! He explains that the 8 great war districts each have their own duties and have achieved great successes. The first is decisive in winning battles, the second is the city's shield, the third expands territory, the fourth explores mysteries, the 5th saves lives, the 6th guards dangerous passages, the 7th travels across oceans, and the 8th hides behind the covers. These 8 districts, he states, are the backbone of the great Xia. He concludes by saying, you belong to the heavens for the next move. Let's see what you decide. I have often had the premonition of an ending era. Today, I want him to take the first step. Wei Qing asks if the teacher really wants to send Hanjan to that place, and Lin Jingxuan wonders if Hanjan can really do it. Back in the arena, the announcer informs Hanjan that if he insists on challenging level 10, he won't stop him, but it's impossible for him to win in his current state. Hanjan acknowledges this and asks for a break, saying, give me time for a song. The announcer states that regulations allow a 5-minute rest. Hanjan then begins to play the fukshikin, and green energy envelops him, indicating quick recovery. The crowd is shocked, realizing he's restoring his psychic energy, and exclaiming that his heaven-defying spirit is an all-rounder, capable of attack, assistance, and strong spirit, making it terrifying. The final challenge of difficulty level 10 begins, revealing a third-order beast, the Red Flame. The announcer states that Hanjan must survive its attacks for 3 minutes to be considered successful. The Red Flame roars, unleashing a powerful heat wave that affects the spectators, who cry out. Onlookers question why Hanjan isn't dodging, warning him he'll die if he doesn't run from the third-order beast. Hanjan, however, calmly asks Yayue if she's ready, and she affirms her unconditional support. He then declares, as a spirit master, I'm not here just to survive. The Red Flame attacks with a blast of fire, but Hanjan dodges. He then channels the Fukshikin, invoking a hint of the natural spirit, 1,000 miles of rapid wind, and unleashes a wind attack. The crowd is awestruck by the strong wind. Hanjan then follows up with another powerful wind attack. The Red Flame roars in pain as it's struck, then disintegrates. The crowd is stunned into silence. Wang Lumao stammers, how's that possible? While Xiao Mei exclaims, damn it, our limelight has been stolen by him. Other onlookers marvel that Hanjan killed a third-order beast, calling it a record no one will ever break. Hanjan, however, notes to himself that forcefully playing a high-level zither song has a huge backlash. Suddenly, he is transported to a second test space and congratulated on passing. A figure appears, and Hanjan asks who he is. The figure introduces himself as Lin Jingshuan, in charge of the second war zone, here to ask a few questions. He asks Hanjan who he thinks will win in the end, Zerg or humans. Hanjan replies, "The Zerg may win, but humans will not lose." Lin Jingshuan finds this interesting and asks Hanjan's purpose in becoming a spirit master. Hanjan declares he does it to prevent Zerg from wreaking havoc, for his homeland and women to live conveniently, and to plant the green flag of the Great Xia all over the homeland and to spread the glory of the Great Xia. Lin Jingshuan praises his speech. The teacher then appears, asking Hanjan if he's willing to take him as his master. Lin Jingshuan introduces the teacher as Li Shutong. Hanjan is shocked, recognizing the name and the Li family as the most powerful in the Great Xia Empire. A flashback reveals that 100 years ago, 3 Zerg emperors joined forces to overthrow Great Xia, and at the critical moment, Li Shutong defeated them single-handedly, turning the tide. Back in the present, Hanjan asks if he can really take Li Shutong as his master, and Li Shutong replies, "Of course, if you want to." Hanjan bows, accepting him as his master. Li Shutong comments that Hanjan is more his type than any of his other apprentices and gives him a ruby ring as his first gift, explaining it was made from the crystal nucleus of a Zerg emperor and contains a trace of Zerg emperor power, making it a Zerg emperor's egg. He warns that it hides a breath of death and power, and even the weakest Zerg born from it will have emperor-level talent, so Hanjan must take care of it. He advises Hanjan not to wear it normally if he's worried, but Hanjan declares he will wear his master's gift. Li Shutong laughs, pleased that Hanjan isn't a wimp like others who wouldn't dare take the ring. He then says enough talk, noting that Hanjan and Xia Yue have finished their exams and burned a lot of energy, so he'll take them out for a nice meal. They go to a restaurant called Deep Blue Hot Pot. Li Shutong tells Hanjan he has invited his senior brothers so Hanjan can get to know them. At the table, Lin Jingshuan reintroduces himself as in charge of the 2nd District War Zone. Li Shutong then introduces Yeqiu 3rd District, Shenjeki 4th District, and Liu Jingchun 5th District as Hanjan's 3rd, 4th, and 5th senior brothers, respectively. Hanjan greets them all. They explain that the other brothers haven't arrived yet, with the 6th at the border and the 7th overseas. Just as Shenjeki is about to mention the 8th brother, a mysterious figure appears behind Hanjan, stating, "No need to introduce myself, I'm here." He hands Hanjan a card with a number, telling him to contact him in case of danger, but that he only gets one chance, then vanishes. Hanjan remarks on the 8th brother's unique personality. Lin Jingshuan then presents Hanjan with a gift from all the senior brothers, a box containing martial arts techniques, battle robes, and other useful things, which Hanjan gratefully accepts. Suddenly, an angry woman bursts in, shouting at them for eating hot pot behind her back. Xia Yue exclaims, "Aunt?" The aunt accuses Xia Yue of enjoying herself now that she's made a fortune after previously eating at her place. Xia Yue tries to explain, but the aunt grabs her, yelling, "You dare to talk back!" Hanjan intervenes, and the aunt demands to know who he is, then asks if he's the boy who cheated our Yue away. Hanjan asks what she wants, and she replies that since she raised Xia Yue for so long, she wants compensation. Xia Yue, enraged, shouts, "Enough!" The aunt, stunned, then berates Xia Yue for yelling at her, threatening that since her Nunu is from the 4th District, she'll make it impossible for Xia Yue to live among spirit masters if she dares to yell at her again. Shenjeki and Liu Jingchun overhear her mention the 4th District. The aunt, oblivious, asks Shenjeki, "What do you care? Who the hell are you?" And then, mistaking Li Shutong for Hanjan's grandfather, demands that if Hanjan wants to take Xia Yue, he must pay the dowry, house, and car, all in her name. She boasts of having relatives in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th war zones and threatens to make them suffer if they don't comply. Li Shutong, annoyed at being called an old man, tells his apprentices to take action. Shenjeki, Yeqiu, and Liu Jingchun look distressed, with Shenjeki wondering why this is happening in their district. The aunt, seeing Hanjan calmly sipping tea, tries to intimidate him, saying she has people up there too. She then makes a call, but the person on the other end, presumably her uncle Nunu, furiously disowns her, telling her their 2 families will have no relations from now on because she's trying to get his whole family killed. Stunned, the aunt drops her phone. Li Shutong mockingly asks what happened to her connections. The aunt collapses to the floor, wondering what's going on. A restaurant employee asks her not to make trouble, but she starts wailing that spirit masters are bullying ordinary people and trying to force her to death. Li Shutong, irritated by the noise, unleashes a burst of energy that sends the aunt flying with a scream. Xia Yue apologizes to Li Shutong, blaming herself for the incident with her aunt. Li Shutong, however, tells her he doesn't blame her, stating that since she doesn't have parents, from now on, he, Hanjan, and Hanjan's senior brothers will be her family. He also advises her not to go to her aunt's house anymore and offers his house for her and Hanjan to live in. Xia Yue tearfully thanks him. Hanjan tells her not to be so polite and to eat. Li Shutong then explains the rules of eating 9-grid dinner. The middle grid is for hot pot dishes to be eaten right after being hot potted, while the other 4 large square grids are for cooking and the 4 small grids in the corners are for stewing. Hanjan then asks his master if he is a shabu-shabu, boiled, or stewed person. Li Shutong replies that he doesn't know, as everyone has their own path and no one can be sure of another's future, not even him. Hanjan muses, "My own path?" Suddenly, Li Shutong exclaims, "Wait, where's my pork belly? Where's my beef?" and notices Xia Yue has a large bowl of meat. Hanjan then asks why the senior brother's spirits, or rather, sisters-in-law, aren't there. Lin Jingxuan asks if Hanjan and Xia Yue haven't slept together yet, to which Hanjan stammers, "And no." Lin Jingxuan explains that after sexual intercourse, a spirit master can have a certain degree of replicate abilities, which, while not very powerful, are very useful. He further clarifies that there are 2 types of spirit forms, materialized and humanized. He adds that the sisters-in-law are currently in their humanoid form, holding their posts for them, and that spirit masters and spirits can fight together or separately, but only if they've had sex first, which makes Xia Yue blush. Lin Jingxuan then asks if Xia Yue is really just an E-level spirit. Hanjan explains that she was indeed E-level at the beginning, but he has an ability to revive her divinity, and she is SSS level now. The senior brothers are shocked, with Lin Jingxuan exclaiming it's unheard of. Hanjan elaborates that while others think he chooses spirits randomly, he would never contract with ordinary spirits. Because of his talent, if he comes across a spirit with divinity, he'll never miss it, even if it's low level. And that besides the Fushkin, there are 9 other ancient divine weapons. Li Shutong sternly tells Hanjan that no one should know about this talent except them, and instructs Lin Jingxuan to set Hanjan and Xia You's files as top secret. The senior brothers then report good news. The 1st District has won 19 consecutive battles against the Zerg. They've recovered 6 lost territories, expanding Great Xia's territory by 20%, and the investigation into the Zerg outbreak has also progressed. Li Shutong, pleased, proposes a toast to the future of Great Xia. Later that night, as Hanjan and Xia Yue are leaving with Li Shutong, Hanjan asks if his master isn't drunk. Li Shutong laughs, saying Hanjan underestimates him and suggests they look at their new home. Hanjan is surprised that Li Shutong has a house in Shenlan City too, and Li Shutong explains it's his wife's homeland. When Hanjan asks where his master's wife is, Li Shutong's demeanor saddens, and he reveals she died fighting. He laments that the world only knows he killed the 3 Zerg emperors, but no one remembers her name, questioning what he is without her. Hanjan apologizes for bringing up a sad topic. Li Shutong then advises Hanjan to be nicer to Xia Yue, reminding him that contracted spirits are not just tools, but human beings with flesh and blood, their other half. Hanjan thanks him for his teaching and promises to cherish Xia Yue. He then asks for the name of his master's wife, so she won't be forgotten. Li Shutong, touched, says Hanjan is different and reveals her name was Ling Mei, who fought to the death with 2 Zerg emperors while he killed one, stating that if she were alive, she'd be more qualified to have the honor of saving the Xia Empire. He then tells them to find a room and rest. Later, Li Shutong is outside, looking at the moon and a picture of Ling Mei, remarking that he can't remember the last time they watched the moon together. Hanjan and Xia Yue approach, and Hanjan says that since his master's wife isn't there, they will accompany him to appreciate the moon from now on. Li Shutong calls Hanjan a stinky boy, but says seeing them reminds him of when he and Xiaomei Lingmei were young. He then states that to protect loved ones, one needs enough strength, and declares he will teach Hanjan his best martial arts skill, Ba Qi Quan. He explains it has 8 locks corresponding to 8 private parts of the human body, and once unlocked, it will exceed the user's limit. As Li Shutong demonstrates, Han Zhan asks, "Master, was it like this?" and surprisingly replicates the technique. Li Shutong is shocked, exclaiming it took Wei Qing half a year to learn one lock, and Han Zhan did it just by looking. Han Zhan remarks that he's feeling the energy in the right place. Li Shutong declares he will teach Han Zhan the 8 deadly fists technique. He then proceeds to playfully spar with Han Zhan, easily knocking him around while Xia Yuwei watches. Li Shutong remarks that it's not good to be too much of a genius and that Han Zhan needs to be more reserved, clearly enjoying teaching a gifted disciple a lesson. Han Zhan cries out, "Master, please be gentle." The next day at Ivy Academy, Xia Yuwei asks Han Zhan if his face still hurts, and he replies that it doesn't and that his master was just messing with him. Wang Lumao and his cronies appear, mocking Han Zhan as the SSS-Rank spirit master who made a big show, saying he'll just be thrown away like garbage. Han Zhan tells Xia Yuwei not to worry about the disgusting flies. They meet with the principal, who informs them of bad news. According to an arrangement from above, Han Zhan and Xia Yuwei will be assigned to the Deep Blue City Guardians, starting from the bottom to perform frontline duties. He hands Han Zhan a notice, and Han Zhan questions the frontline assignment. The principal explains that while it's a stretch for their talents and a decision from above, he already tried to argue against it. Han Zhan, however, accepts the decision, thinking this might be what his master meant by being my own path. As they leave, Wang Lumao taunts Han Zhan, saying that even if he passed the most difficult test, offending the officials means he's dead. He then challenges Han Zhan to a fight, claiming his strength has doubled after spending the night with Xiao Mei and vowing to make Han Zhan pay for past humiliations. Han Zhan swiftly defeats Wang Lumao with a few punches, leaving him unconscious. Han Zhan then says, "Let's go, he deserves it." Xia Yuwei asks where they are going, and Han Zhan replies, "To report on duty." The principal instructs someone to take Wang Lumao, who has fainted due to kidney deficiency, to the infirmary. At the Guardian's office, Han Zhan tells the person at the desk that he's there to join, not for assistance. The man at the desk recognizes them, mentioning that Lieutenant Zhao ordered them to make sure you're dead, then quickly corrects himself, saying he'll take care of Deep Blue City's only SSS-ranked Spirit Master. He informs them that their files have been entered. They've been assigned to the 0527 squad, and Han Zhan has been appointed as its captain. He explains that within the Guardians organization, each city has a first team responsible for overseeing other Guardians, who are numbered according to their districts and belong to different teams. He directs them to the 0527 office. Han Zhan and Xia Yuwei find the office a mess with spilled bottles. A red-haired woman holding a glass asks who they are and what they are doing there. Han Zhan introduces himself as the new captain of Team 0527. The woman is surprised, and a man lying on a couch, Yi Fan, scoffs, saying, Han Zhan hasn't even fully grown his hair yet and wants to be their captain, then dismissively tells him to fuck off. Xie Yuwei angrily asks how he can talk like that, and Han Zhan remarks on how pathetic the man is for a member of the Guardians. Yi Fan then starts complimenting Xie Yuwei's soft voice and asks if she's interested in being his shorty. However, before she could answer, Han Zhan swiftly punches him. The red-haired woman, Hong Yingwei, tells Yi Fan to take care of their new leader, and then she'll go rest inside. Yi Fan asks her for money, stating he's broke. Hong Yingwei retorts that she doesn't have money either, and leaves to the other room. Yi Fan stands up, explaining that their squad can't even afford drinks because they're so poor. Han Zhan believed that the downfall was temporary as long as he was here. Yi Fan then points to a screen showing their squad. 0527 is deep in negative points in the Deep Blue City Guardians ranking. He explains they have 2 months before the organization replaces the lowest ranked squads, and those who can't afford the rent will be sent to the dangerous lower town. He despairs that their squad has no new members and will be eliminated, lamenting that the lower town is run down and it's hard to survive there. He then tells Han Zhan to get lost if he doesn't want to die in Lower Town. Han Zhan then realizes Zhao Hu is trying to force him into Lower Town and declares he won't let him. Xie Yuwei suggests they leave, but Han Zhan refuses, saying running away isn't his style and that he'd rather reform the number one squad in name only and let Zhao Hu's plan go down the drain. He quickly bursts into the room where Hong Yingwei went. Hong Yingwei orders him to get out, saying he isn't welcome. Hanjan asks if they must sit there and do nothing, and then says, "Is it Hong Yingwei, or should I call you Bai Shuang?" She was shocked because I think it was her real name. I don't know. What I do know is that she is an A-level contract spirit who has transformation and lies. Hanjan comments that he's already seen her true form and that she hasn't recovered her strength. Hong Yingwei admits he's right, but says she can still fight. Hanjan then proposes that if she, along with Yifan, joins his team, she won't have to worry about missions as long as Squad 0527 exists. Hong Yingwei asks what's in it for he, and he replies that if they clear the current missions, she gets half the points, and if not, she'll know what he said. Hong Yingwei agrees to the deal, thinking Hanjan can see through her lies and is indeed a bit tricky. She agrees to take charge of selecting missions. Hong Yingwei shows him the mission list, which includes searching for missing persons, resolving emotional disputes, and escorting children. Hanjan scoffs at these low-point missions. Hanjan then points to a high-risk mission. Clean out the Zerg, which involves clearing Zerg in the Old City District, offers 1,000 points and Zerg materials, but recommends 6 to 8 people. Hong Yingwei calls him crazy, saying a 2-person team would be a suicide mission. Hanjan, however, states that only this kind of mission can bring them back from negative points and accepts it. Hong Yingwei warns him that if he fails, he'll be banned from taking missions for a month and will have to compensate for the corresponding reward. Hanjan confidently says, "Let's go. I'll make sure we don't fail," and tells Xie Yuwei to call him if anything goes wrong. Hong Yingwei mutters to herself that she'll have to cover for him if the mission fails. At another location, a man reports to his captain that the sewer clean-out Zerg mission has been taken. The captain, surprised, asks who stole their mission, this edition wondering if it's the captain who just joined. Another man expresses disbelief, given their captain just got here. The captain then orders his team to go to the sewer entrance and see if they can take the mission alone. As Hanjan, Xia Yuwei, and Hong Yingwei approach the mission area, Hong Yingwei warns Hanjan to be careful, as the life Peter has here is more dangerous than expected, and this might be their lair. Hanjan tells Hong Yingwei to wait there and that he'll be back soon, then leaps into action with Xia Yuwei. Hong Yingwei shouts after him that he's a madman, as there are second-order man-eater monsters and he's fighting alone. She follows him, but something quickly happens, and she exclaims, "Shit! Something happened so soon," as she follows them. Hanjan stands amidst the defeated Zerg, reassuring Hong Yingwei and Xia Yuwei that it's over. Hong Yingwei, astonished, asks if he did all of this. Hanjan confirms the mission went well and they can get a lot of money from the Zerg corpses, also noting that a dead guardian on the ground must be the missing one they were supposed to find. Hong Yingwei internally marvels at Hanjan's ability to easily defeat terrifying second-order Zerg. An hour later, the other Guardian squad arrive, shocked to find all the Zerg dead. They count 10 second-order Zerg, 2 more than reported, and note they were all one-hit kills. The squad leader, seeing the Zerg clearing mission completed, wonders what kind of monster accomplished it. Back at the office, a subordinate reports to Captain Zhao Hu that Squad 0527 has completed 2 missions and their points are up to 350. Zhao Hu furiously slams the table, angry that his instructions to fuck him up were handled this way. The subordinate apologizes. Zhao Hu then warns that Hanjan shouldn't think he can't be dealt with just because he found a backer and orders the subordinate to have other squads take all missions in Blue City, leaving none for Hanjan. Later, Hanjan is having dinner with Li Shutong and Xia Yuwei. Li Shutong asks if Hanjan needs help with Zhao Hu, but Hanjan declines, stating he's more concerned about other problems within the Guardians, an organization that has done nothing to protect the city. Li Shutong explains that as an organization grows, it's bound to encounter problems, and their focus on Zerg infestations has allowed internal roots to rot. He states these rotten roots need a fire to revive them, which is why he chose Hanjan. Hanjan asks if his master wants him to be that fire. Li Shutong replies that while fire can burn dead leaves and dispel darkness, it can also be extinguished, and the choice of Hanjan's future path is his own. Hanjan understands. He then asks his master how to break through to the next level of the 8 deadly fists technique. Li Shutong advises that to break through the 8 deadly points, Hanjan must remember 4 words: between life and death. After dinner, Hanjan is relaxing in his room when Xiaoyue enters, asking if she can sleep there. Hanjan, surprised, points out the villa is big, and she could rest in her own room. Xiaoyue explains that the teacher Li Shutong locked the doors of other rooms. Hanjan laughs, saying it's all right and he'll sleep on the floor. Xiaoyue, however, insists he sleeps in the bed. He says that it's not a good idea, and they end up sleeping in the same bed. The next morning, Hanjan and Xiaoyue head to the 0527 office to find new missions. Yifan and Hong Yingwei are there. Hong Yingwei, now aware of Hanjan's true capabilities, Blue City's new SSS-level Spirit Contract Master, becoming the most talented Spirit Contract Master in history, the #1 genius of Ivy Academy, apologizes for not knowing how powerful he was and thinking he used connections. Hanjan tells her not to be polite as they are all fellows. Hong Yingwei then remarks that it's a waste for the authorities to send a genius like him to protect the city, as he'll become useless there. Hanjan counters that only the weak are changed by their environment, while he will change his. Yifan warns that Hanzan is too aggressive and has offended Zhao Hu, who will do anything to get him banished to the lower towns. Hong Yingwei then informs Hanjan that for some reason all missions in Blue City were taken that day, leaving none for them. Hanjan asks if all missions in Blue City were taken, then clarifies if Blue City itself has been taken over, and what about other cities? He suggests changing their address to Kanghai City on the mission tablet. The mission list refreshes, showing unclaimed missions in the new city. Hong Yingwei is surprised, but notes that while they can take on missions across different cities, they'll have to travel to nearby cities to complete them, and the road out of their current city is filled with high-level Zerg, expressing her fear. The next thing we found is the group in the truck pursued by aggressive winged creatures. Xiaoyue asked about their identity, and Hanjan explained they were First-Order Zerg, deathflies, whose lethality increased with their numbers. This information, however, was met with a surprised exclamation from a seemingly inebriated Yi Fan, who then suddenly shouted, drawing attention to an even larger swarm of more menacing deathflies appearing. Xiaoyue expressed shock, questioning if these larger creatures were also deathflies, to which Hanjan confirmed that such a massive number would indeed be a very destructive force. Undeterred, Yi Fan enthusiastically suggested they charge towards the swarm. The driver, Xiaoyue, then spotted a caravan in the distance, already under attack by a storm of deathflies, and she queried if they should attempt a rescue. Hanjan in the back immediately affirmed, instructing her to take a hard right and proceed with full power. Xiaoyue, with resolve, told others to hold on tight as she executed a sharp turn. The sudden maneuver threw the Yi Fan about, though he declared the experience thrilling. Meanwhile, a jeep, part of the besieged caravan, was also desperately trying to escape the overwhelming deathfly storm. Inside, a man informed a blue-haired woman, Miss Shang Si Ting, that they couldn't outrun their pursuers and would be caught within minutes. He stated that reinforcements wouldn't arrive and, to ensure her safety, ordered the execution of a sacrifice plan. Miss Shang Si Ting vehemently protested, urging her protectors not to give up. However, no one listened to her. Their vehicles then split off. The man in the jeep with Miss Shang Si Ting gave the command, and one of the decoy vehicles fired a weapon into the storm, causing an explosion, but nothing happened. Distraught, Miss Shang Si Ting blamed herself for their fate, but the man beside her attempted to console her, stating it was their honor to protect her. Their conversation was interrupted by a new, distinct sound. Startled, Miss Shang Si Ting looked up as the deathfly storm began to be disrupted by an unseen force, accompanied by some sound. Hanjan from the truck was revealed to be the cause, standing in the truck bed, attacking, causing the deathflies within the storm to react with a collective roar. Miss Shang Si Ting watched in disbelief as their jeep pulled alongside the truck. Hanjan continued attacking, and Miss Shang Si Ting, utterly amazed, remarked on someone's ability to disperse such a storm, wondering about the origins of such a powerful individual in their area. As the storm continued to break apart under the assault of Hanjan's projectiles. However, deathflies started throwing a lot of projectiles toward Hanjan. Yi Fan from the truck suddenly shouted at Hanjan and came in front to save Hanjan. getting hurt badly. Hanjan caught the falling Yifan. Hanjan then informed the injured Yifan that the needles were poisonous and would be fatal in seconds if not removed. Miraculously, the needles were expelled from Yifan's body automatically. Hanjan was shocked by how he did it, and so his status identified Yifan as possessing an SS-level immortality talent. Hanjan marveled internally at this revelation, pondering the specifics of such a powerful ability. Yifan, noticing his curiosity, playfully offered to reveal the details of his talent if Hanjan begged. However, Hanjan declined, and Yifan, slightly taken aback, confirmed if he was genuinely not interested. As the truck drove on, Hanjan suddenly sneezed, musing aloud if he had a cold or if someone was thinking of him. Xiaoyue announced their arrival at the first mission site. Almost immediately, a swarm of winged creatures appeared, roaring as they approached. Hanjan, with a confident smile, stated they could begin, as all their objectives were right in front of them. Their truck was quickly surrounded by the hostile creatures. Hanjan then unleashed a wave of attacks, which swiftly decimated the attacking swarm. Yifan, witnessing this from the truck bed, expressed his amazement, questioning if another entire batch had been killed in mere seconds. Hong Yingwei, also impressed, remarked that Hanjan's strength blew her mind every time. On the other side in the Shanghai City's command center, notifications appeared on a screen, indicating the rapid completion of Mission 1 through Mission 5. Other teams observed these mission completions with disbelief. One individual wondered aloud when Shanghai City acquired such an incredibly efficient team. Another noted that, excluding travel time, each mission was being completed in an average of over 10 seconds, deeming it a one-sided massacre. A third person then identified the responsible party as Deep Blue City 0527 Squad. The man now enraged, exclaiming that a Deep Blue City Guardian squad undertaking Shanghai City's point missions was a slap on our face. He then ordered his Team 1 to gather and follow him, intending to confront them. Following this, several Guardian squads from Shanghai City mobilized, with the leader noting that many local squads were displeased with this mission bully. A blue-haired individual suggested that together they could handle the remaining demon tail snakes up ahead, and another agreed, eager to show the Deep Blue City mission bully their strength. However, their bravado was cut short when one of them suddenly pointed ahead, having noticed something. They discovered that the demon tail snakes had already been defeated. The furious squad leader declared this blizz bully was going too far and commanded Zhao Ya, the driver, to turn their vehicle around to find and demand an explanation from the mission bully, an order Zhao Ya acknowledged. Another squad member attempted to restrain their captain, urging him to stop, but was told not to interfere. It was then reported that after submitting their missions, Han Jan's group had apparently left Shanghai City, with someone having spotted their large black pickup truck departing. Just as this news was relayed, the enraged Shanghai City squad captain suddenly clutched his chest and coughed up blood, to the shock of his subordinate. Meanwhile, at the City Guard Organization headquarters, Third in Command Su Mingxuan expressed his confusion over the sudden, significant increase in mission completion rates in Shanghai City, Shenlan City, and the surrounding areas, wondering about the cause. An aide reported that a team of mission bullies from Deep Blue City had appeared, specializing in snatching missions from other cities, which had led to a chain reaction. Su Mingxuan, intrigued, ordered his aide to retrieve the files on this team, musing about the identity of this mission bully. The aide soon returned, confirming the file access was complete, and Su Mingxuan dismissed him. Su Mingxuan then began reviewing the top-secret files. The first detailed Yi Fan, an SS-level former captain who had served in the first Master War Zone and received the Purple Star Medal, but later became depressed after the death of his contracted spirit, and demoted himself to the City Guardians organization. His talent was immortality, meaning no form of damage could kill him. The second file was on Hong Yingwei, an A-level member of Deep Blue City 0527 Squad, who once belonged to the same battle zone as Yi Fan and later went down to the City Guardians organization with him. Her talent was lies, enabling her to change her appearance, body shape, and even name, noted as extremely dangerous. Su Mingxuan was visibly shocked that both files were top secret, wondering if the last one could also be so classified. The third file identified Hanjan as the current captain of Deep Blue City 0527 Squad, a recent graduate from Ivy Academy with none listed under specific information. Su Mingxuan found this lack of detail perplexing, questioning if there was a mistake in the file. Just then, his phone rang. He answered, identifying himself as Su Mingxuan. The caller was Lin Jingxuan, the person in charge of the second war zone. Su Mingxuan was internally stunned, wondering what such a giant would want with him. Lin Jingxuan instructed Su Mingxuan not to look further into the file he had just received, stating it was beyond his access rights. Su Mingxuan quickly and nervously agreed. After ending the call, Su Mingxuan exclaimed that the situation was outrageous, unable to comprehend who Hanjan could be to warrant a personal call from Lin Jingxuan, the head of the second war zone. Following a successful encounter, Hanjan announced the completion of their 18th mission and requested Hong Yingwei to check their current point total. While Yifan celebrated exuberantly in the background, Hong Yingwei confirmed their score was 1800. But hesitated, prompting a now serious Hanjan to inquire further. She then revealed that despite their efforts, their team remained in last place. Yifan reacted with disbelief, while Yu Wei wondered if any team could possibly complete tasks faster than them. Hong Yingwei, frustrated, suspected it might be Zhao Hu who was causing trouble again, at which point Hanjan asked to see the rankings himself. Upon reviewing the scores, Hanjan noted that while the second-to-last team had 2,300 points, it was peculiar that about a dozen teams previously at the bottom were now all tied at that same score. He questioned how so many teams could achieve this, doubting they all possessed SSS-level talents. Hanjan explained the phenomenon as point control, where teams collude to achieve a tie, with one individual distributing the points earned from joint efforts, a practice not technically against the City Guardian organization's rules. Hong Yingwei then lamented that they were being constantly targeted. Han Zhan, however, reassured her not to worry excessively, as they were still close enough to potentially overtake the others, a sentiment the team seemed to share. Later, Han Zhan and Yue returned to their master, announcing their arrival. The master welcomed them and inquired about their trip. Hanjan admitted that while there were some gains, the overall result wasn't favorable. Xie Yue elaborated that they had successfully rescued a merchant's convoy, which the master acknowledged as a positive outcome, deducing that the little girl from the merchant shop they had saved was Shangxi Ting, and the unromantic individual she had mentioned was, in fact, Hanjan. The master chuckled, remarking that this explained her recent pestering about awakening as a powerful spirit. Hanjan then asked if the master knew Shangxi Ting. The master confirmed his long-standing friendship with her grandfather and revealed that the Shang family, behind Kanshang Technology, a top 5 company developing high-end weaponry for spirit masters and ordinary people, was her lineage, adding that he considered Shangxi Ting his granddaughter. Hanjan realized her background was more significant than he had thought. The master further explained that the merchant had intentionally led Shangxi Ting there to force her return, a plan Hanjan's group had inadvertently interrupted. Hanjan expressed concern that his good intentions might have had negative consequences. However, the master reassured him, stating it was all right because the convoy was escorting something intended for him anyway, something he planned to give Hanjan. He then presented a case, which Yue curiously questioned. Inside the case were 2 glowing vials identified by the master as breakthrough potions. He explained that the potion was rumored to enhance various attributes, including talent, though he couldn't vouch for its veracity, and urged them to consume 1 each immediately. After Hanjan and Yue expressed their gratitude, they drank the potions. Hanjan instantly felt a surge of powerful energy as a notification confirmed his breakthrough to a level 2 spirit contract master. Simultaneously, Yue experienced her own transformation, surrounded by elemental energies, with a notification detailing her SSS-level spirit contract, advancement to level 2 strength, transformation into the ancient magic weapon Fushikini, and the acquisition of a new divinity. Sword and Heart, Heaven's Will 4 elements. Hanjan observed that Yue's breakthrough had manifested Heaven's Will, a celestial phenomenon involving wind, fire, thunder, and lightning, and that he had unlocked new music skills, Spring Wildfire and six-dimensional thunder, corresponding to her new divinity. As they recovered, Hanjan marveled at the potion's potency, which had not only leveled him up but also granted him new musical abilities tied to Yue's enhanced state. Yue, still catching her breath, expressed her amazement at her newfound power. Their master, pleased, commented that their performance had not disappointed him. Just then, Hanjan's phone rang. It was Hong Yingwei, informing him that a new task had appeared on Deep Blue City's list. The notification on Hanjan's phone displayed a red alert. A Zerg ranger had appeared near Deep Blue City. Hanjan questioned the emergence of such a powerful Zerg. Hong Yingwei elaborated that a full-fledged ranger was equivalent to several third-level spirit masters and asked if they should undertake the mission. Hanjan instructed her to meet him at Shixia Street to discuss it further, then informed Yue of the new mission, and they prepared to depart. Left alone, the master sighed, just as an attendant reported that Miss Lingzhen had been found but refused to return to see him. Upon asking her whereabouts, the master was told she was in Kanghai City. At Shixia Street, where Hong Yingwei and Yi Fan awaited them, Hanjan arrived and was asked by Hong Yingwei if he had decided about the ranger mission. Hanjan affirmed, viewing it as an opportunity to gain points. Hong Yingwei, however, voiced her concern, stating that even youngling rangers were exceedingly dangerous. Hanjan then questioned if she understood the meaning of a red alert. When she admitted her uncertainty, he explained that it signified an imminent threat. If the ranger wasn't eliminated, it would destroy the city upon reaching maturity. He concluded by reminding her that their primary purpose as a city guardian team was not to chase points, but to protect humanity. On the other side, observing a dark, dome-like phenomenon from a rooftop, a group of soldiers identified it as the Rangers' special talent, the Black Veil. Their captain elaborated that this black veil could isolate all perceptions, forming an independent world where anything covered by it would age, decay, and eventually perish. One of his men then questioned why the authorities had tasked them with handling the Rangers, but also released the mission publicly, wondering if it signified a lack of trust. The captain explained that Rangers were very powerful and required a large number of scapegoats to attract their firepower, an explanation his subordinate seemed to understand. The captain then instructed his team to remain inactive until the first batch of cannon fodder entered the Black Veil, observing through binoculars as Hanjan's team arrived. Hanjan, upon seeing the Black Veil, warned his companions to be careful. Hong Yingwei, from the driver's seat, asked if they were ready, reminding them that there was no turning back once they entered. Yi Fan, however, dismissed the danger, confident that the Black Veil wouldn't affect him. Hanjan, holding Yue's hand, reassured her that it would be fine. With Hanjan's agreement, the four of them walked into the ominous, dark expanse. Inside, Hanjan immediately noted the strong Zerg aura and urged everyone to stay alert, while Yue expressed a chilling sensation of being watched by invisible eyes. Suddenly, Yue asked if anyone else heard a strange noise, and Hong Yingwei realized that a force seemed to be sucking their life. Hong Yingwei explained that the Black Veil possessed a unique ability called life deprivation, which would slowly absorb their energy until they died. Yi Fan added that, according to their information, they had only half an hour. If they couldn't destroy the Black Veil from within during that time, they would all become nutrients for the Rangers' growth. Hong Yingwei pointed at something, asked if Yi Fan was referring to that black ball, and Yi Fan confirmed, pointing towards a dark, pulsating orb. Hanjan questioned if they simply needed to smash it. As Hanjan prepared to attack, the ground beneath them suddenly undulated and started pulling Hong Yingwei inside. Yi Fan yelled for her to be careful as she was pulled down. He rushed to help, but Hanjan called out for him to hold on, stating he was coming. But before he could do anything, the ground went upward, turning itself into a wall separating the group in two. He then identified this as the second talent of Rangers, Life Giver. Yue asked for clarification, and Hanjan explained that Rangers could imbue life not only into people, but also into weapons, props, and even the ground itself. Realizing the nature of their foe, Yue, transforming into Fushikini, declared they should break through it together. Hanjan agreed, and they launched a combined assault, striking the ground with explosive force. However, the damaged earth quickly regenerated. Hanjan noted its strong recovery speed, deeming it almost impossible to tear down. He then realized with alarm that the ranger was attempting to trap them as the ground continued to shift and rise around them. Suddenly, a true winged Zerg ranger appeared, roaring as it descended. Hanjan, surprised, warned by Yue to watch out as the Zerg lunged. He dodged its attack, questioning if he was mistaken about what he was seeing, then urgently called for Yue to join him as the little Zerg loomed before them. The same group of soldiers observed the unfolding situation, with their captain explaining that they were to act as cannon fodder and that after the initial wave was destroyed, his team would step in to complete the mission. One soldier expressed confidence in this plan, but his bravado was cut short when the ground started shaking. He told them to be careful. Later, when things settled down, he went to check if the captain was all right. As he placed his hand on the captain's shoulder from back, the captain started attacking him, choking him. Then, a creature appeared from the captain's head and went straight on to the other guy's eyes. Coming back, Hong Yingwei thanked Yifan for his assistance. Hong Yingwei then asked Yifan if he could feel the invisible threads around them. He confirmed he could, defiantly stating that the threads wouldn't get anything from him, and then Hong Yingwei told him that she envied his gift, never having to worry about his life. But unable to die is its own kind of punishment. Yifan then suggested that since they seemed unable to leave, they might as well give up and leave. However, Hong Yingwei then confidently interjected, asking who said they couldn't leave. She began to radiate power to the wall, and then the wall broke. On the other side was Han Zhan, surrounded by the falling rubble. Hong Yingwei, witnessing this, warned Han Zhan to be careful, and he dodged it. The four of them, Han Zhan, Yue, Hong Yingwei, and Yi Fan, were finally together. Hong Yingwei casually remarked that she had just used her power to resolve the Life Giver attack and didn't pay attention to the back. But before things could escalate, Han Zhan saved them. It wasn't just some rocks, it was a giant monster, a massive stone creature. Han Zhan urged them to get out of the way as he unleashed a fiery attack. A massive stone creature roared into existence, prompting Yue to exclaim that the situation was not good, while Hong Yingwei commanded, "Swift wind, rise." The stone creature roared again, but Han Zhan's wind attack sliced through its arm. As Han Zhan's clashed, it let out a huge shockwave, throwing Xia Yue and Yi Fan afar. Han Zhan explained that these monsters were manifestations of the Ranger's will and could be reformed as soon as they were destroyed. Observing the aftermath, Han Zhan noted that after releasing the Life Giver ability, the Ranger had condensed the entire dark world, leaving only the black sphere. He deduced that if they could shatter this sphere, they would be able to kill the Ranger. Hong Yingwei and Yifan encouraged Han Zhan to proceed, assuring him that they would provide backup, even as the massive stone creatures roared menacingly. Yifan then jumped toward the monster, surrounded by a golden aura, invoked his immortality. He was immediately punched by the stone creatures, but remained resolute, stating that his immortality was his only skill and that this was a viable solution. Han Zhan then urged Yifan to hold on, declaring his intention to go and kill the Ranger. Han Zhan, now crackling with blue lightning, called upon the 6 divine guardians of the Earth's core, summoning them by his great name to serve and obey, and unleashed a powerful barrage of lightning at the monster. Just as a moment of triumph was declared, the situation took a grim turn when Han Zhan urgently warned Yifan to flee, because as we can see, someone had punched him. A formidable adult wanderer materialized, throwing Han Zhan aside and vowing that no human would escape its grasp. Shocked, Yifan recognized the new threat, just as Hong Yingwei, standing beside the creature, revealed that this powerful wanderer was a surprise she had orchestrated. Hong Yingwei elaborated that she had concealed the wanderer using an ability called Lies, biding her time for the opportune moment to unleash it for a decisive strike. When Han Zhan, bewildered, questioned her motives, Hong Yingwei responded with deranged laughter, simply stating her desire to eliminate them all. Han Zhan, looking at her, noticed something and thought out loud that this was the second time he had witnessed a particular phenomenon, now certain of its nature. After listening to him, Yifan asked Han Zhan what he was talking about. Han Zhan explained that Hong Yingwei had been parasitized. When pressed for details, Han Zhan explained that the silver-white shadow he'd previously observed in her eyes was the infamous eroding worm, a fourth-tier insect with the terrifying brain erosion ability capable of completely controlling its host. He recalled a devastating historical incident where a seventh-tier warrior, similarly afflicted, decimated an entire city, resulting in immense losses for the organization that eventually subdued him. Yifan expressed his confusion, as this species was believed to have been eradicated decades ago. Faced with this dire new threat, Yifan suggested Hanjan escape first, offering to use his immortal gift as cover, but Hanjan recognized their predicament. The adult wanderer's black veil had expanded significantly after absorbing a fallen young wanderer, making escape at their current speed impossible. Hanjan then requested Yifan to buy him enough time to perform one song, so he can heal himself. The parasitized Hong Yingwei urged the wanderer to stop him. The wanderer attacked, and Yifan came in front, unleashing his power. Hong Yingwei then confronted Yifan using her power of lies to declare his vaunted immortal body a fabrication. Yifan retorted that its authenticity wasn't her decision to make and gave her a head bump. With that head bump, the eroding worm came outside from her head and bit Yifan. A system notification confirmed Yifan had 2 uses of his immortal ability remaining. In pain, Yifan crushed the eroding worm, while the observing adult wanderer found the development interesting and challenged Yifan to see how long he could last before unleashing a huge attack. Yifan, however, stood still, visibly straining, and inquired how much longer he needed. Hanjan, now already done, told Yifan and Xia Yue to handle the eroding worms, who acknowledged the order, while Hanjan himself would confront the adult wanderer. Hanjan then powered up, announcing his technique, 8 quick fists, first quick, open, remarking that he hadn't anticipated being forced to use his full strength before lunging at the adult wanderer, determined to end the fight. Hanjan launches a powerful, focused punch at the adult wanderer. The wanderer was able to dodge, but momentarily taken aback, reflects internally that humans, at such a young age, are capable of such battle prowess and admits to being genuinely surprised. Then he pulled out a spear-like weapon from his mouth, preparing a counterattack with that weapon, declaring its intent to see how many moves Hanjan can withstand. Hanjan, now wearing some type of gloves, counter back. The wanderer, shocked, questions the origin of Hanjan's gloves, then realizes that over a decade ago, these gloves killed the Zerg king on the battlefield, but states that such power belongs to the strong, implying Hanjan is not. But Hanjan retorts that while he may not be strong, but the wanderer is not the Zerg king either, before unleashing a powerful punch. The force of the blow creates a shockwave, sending the wanderer reeling. Hanjan continued the assault. Observing the gloves again, the wanderer speculates that the strong man who gifted them must have a very special relationship with Hanjan. It then malevolently muses that if it kills Hanjan, the resulting sadness of this strong man would bring it excitement, before swiftly impaling Hanjan through the chest. Hanjan, critically injured, realizes he must kill the wanderer before it fully absorbs the energy of the young ranger, recognizing this as his only chance and his only life. Feeling the nerve-wracking pressure of life and death, he prepares his 8 deadly fists technique, second punch. Declaring he can't drag this out and that fighting is the only way to survive, Hanjan lunges forward, shouting, "Kill!" His punch connects squarely with the wanderer's chest, blowing it into pieces. As the dust settles, Hanjan stands, announcing, "You lost." However, the defeated wanderer's head, looking up from the ground, counters, "No, you lost!" Hanjan looks on in surprise as the wanderer recovers quickly. The wanderer, now with a more powerful form of the wanderer, declares, "Kid, it's all over." Suddenly, Yifan and Hong Yingwei return, shouting to Hanjan that Hong Yingwei is missing. Hanjan reacts with a startled, "What?" just as numerous chains erupt from the ground around them. Realizing the dire situation, Hanjan exclaims, "Not good," as the wanderer revealed to be holding a massive rock. The wanderer stating no one can get out and commanding them all to go to hell as he launches a massive energy sphere. Yifan desperately tries to shield his comrades, urging Hanjan to hurry. Hanjan calls out Yifan as a notification indicates immortality x0, which means Yifan has 0 immortality left. Yifan strains under the immense pressure, screaming in agony. Observing this, Hanjan grimly notes that Yifan can't hold on any longer. Suddenly, the massive rocks ascended in the air automatically, breaking itself. Everyone was shocked after witnessing this. It was the one of the 8 deadly fists technique which someone unleashed. The 6th punch, Annihilation. A colossal energy fist descends from the sky towards the Wanderer, who looks up in shock, questioning what the attack is. The fist connects, killing the Wanderer, and then seemingly dissipates. Hanjan, Yue, and Yifan look on, bewildered, asking what happened. Just then, a new figure appears, suspended in midair before a winged horse-drawn carriage, remarking, "Fortunately, I made it in time." It was Hanjan's master. Hanjan, stunned, stammers, "Master?" before collapsing. His teammates held the falling Hanjan. The master instructs them to take Hanjan back first, as he still needs to clear the place. A confused Yifan questions what clear the place means, just as a small, blue-winged insectoid creature runs for its life. Later, we see Hanjan jolting awake in a hospital bed, calling out for his master to be careful. Yue greets him, explaining they are in a hospital because, after Hanjan fainted, the master began clearing the field of Eclipse Zergs. However, since the Queen Zerg wasn't found, they couldn't completely eliminate them, so Hanjan was sent back for recuperation. Hanjan immediately asks about Yifan's condition. Yue informs him that Yifan is in the ICU. She recounts how Yifan tried his best to stop the last meteorite, resulting in shattered bones and meridians, and would have died if not for his immortality talent, which is now slowly repairing the damage. Just then, a nurse bursts in, asking if they are Yifan's colleagues and if they've seen him. Yue, concerned, asks what happened to Yifan, and the nurse reveals he is missing. Yue recalls that the master had told them to find the Eclipse Zerg themselves, and theorizes that Hong Yingwei's disappearance is related to the Eclipse Zerg, so Yifan must have gone to find both. She elaborates that Hong Yingwei is a key link, as the 4th Order Eclipse Zerg can reproduce asexually, but if they kill the queen, all other Zergs can be taken down simultaneously. Hanjan, now standing, deduces that Yifan likely figured something out and went to investigate alone. Yue then brings up another issue. The City Guardians organization deducted 100 points from their 0527 team. Hanjan is shocked. Yue explains that because the master ultimately completed the mission, all other teams were considered to have failed, leading to the point deduction. She fumes about them fighting on the front lines while others pull such tricks. Furthermore, she reveals that not only were their points deducted, but the City Guardians also took the Ranger's corpse without leaving anything behind, moving all materials to the Guardian Organization building. Hanjan asks if the master said anything about this. Yue replies that the master stated it's a matter between them and the City Guardians, and no one else will interfere. Hanjan interprets this as the master clearly backing them up and declares, "Let's go." Yue, concerned about his recent recovery, asks where he's going. Hanjan, already heading for the door, states they're going to take back what belongs to them. Meanwhile, at what appears to be the City Guardians' headquarters, a group of individuals is discussing Captain Zhao's generosity in splitting up 4th Order Zerg materials, with one smugly remarking it's because they did the work for him. At that moment, Hanjan and Yue arrive, and Hanjan forcefully kicks open the doors, demanding Zhao Hu get out. One of Zhao Hu's subordinates, a man with spiky hair, greets Hanjan with mock surprise, asking why he's there without notice. Hanjan curtly tells him to get Zhao Hu. The subordinate laughs, commenting on Hanjan's aggression, but warns him to be careful with his words, stating this isn't the place for him to go wild. He attempted to strike Hanjan, but before he could do anything, Hanjan swiftly gave him a lady slap, sending him sprawling. Hanjan then asks if anyone has ever told him he looks annoying when he smiles before pinning the subordinate to the ground with his foot. The onlookers are shocked by the brutality, with one noting Hanjan was pinned in one move and another vowing to record it to show Hanjan not following rules. The defeated subordinate, enraged, lunges at Hanjan with a knife, shouting, "He'll kill him." Hanjan easily catches his wrist, then dispatches him, asking if they dare attack him and are seeking death. Just then, someone says, "Enough," and it was Zhao Hu, finally appears, demanding to know what Hanjan wants. Hanjan states he wants Zhao Hu to apologize to him and his team. Zhao Hu scoffs, calling it daydreaming, and asks Xiaozhang if the recorded video has been sent to headquarters. Xiao Zhang confirms it was delivered to Vice Head Su Ming Xuan and the supervisory department. Zhao Hu then taunts Han Zhan, saying he's done for and will be severely punished by headquarters for hitting Ping people. Yu Wei expresses fear to Han Zhan, but he reassures her that with the master backing them, they won't dare do anything to him. Just then, Xiao Zhang announces that headquarters has replied. Zhao Hu eagerly asks what they said. Xiao Zhang reports that headquarters considers it an internal matter for the Guardians of Deep Blue City to handle themselves. Zhao Hu, incredulous, asks about the supervisory department. Xiao Zhang adds that the supervisory department found the young man, Han Zhan, who fought to have impressive skills, and asked if he'd be interested in joining them. Zhao Hu, utterly flabbergasted by this turn of events, throws his earbuds on the ground, exclaiming, "What kind of nonsense is this?" Han Zhan then calmly asks if Zhao Hu has figured out how to apologize. Zhao Hu, now more conciliatory, asks Han Zhan how exactly he wants him to apologize to stop causing trouble. Han Zhan explains he heard Zhao Hu embezzled all the materials of the ranger their team killed with great effort, and therefore he wants Zhao Hu to open the Guardian organization's treasure vault and let him choose items until he's satisfied on behalf of his team members. Zhao Hu vehemently refuses, stating the treasure vault contains carefully selected items of great value and that Han Zhan's demand is unacceptable. Han Zhan counters, questioning Zhao Hu's sincerity if he can't even do this much, pointing out he can't take much even if he fills both hands. Zhao Hu, after a moment of thought, perhaps considering Han Zhan's point about limited carrying capacity, agrees, but with conditions. Only Han Zhan is allowed in, and when he comes out, no items are to be hidden anywhere besides his hands. Han Zhan grins and says, "All right, deal." He then glances at his hands, a subtle smile playing on his lips, as if indicating he has a plan. Later, at the treasure vault of the City Guardians organization, where Han Zhan has just entered. Outside, one of Zhao Hu's subordinates nervously asks if anything will go wrong. Zhao Hu reassures him, stating the vault contains tens of thousands of items, many of which even he can't recognize, and since Han Zhan is just a fresh graduate, he'll surely be at a loss. He smirks, adding that even if Han Zhan could recognize all the treasures, he couldn't take much with only 2 hands. The subordinate agrees with Zhao Hu's assessment. Inside the vault, Han Zhan pulls out a book titled Treasure Appraisals and marvels at the sheer number of items. He expresses gratitude for the notes his second senior brother gave him, without which he wouldn't have recognized anything. He identifies various valuable items: the limbs of a third-order skeleton ant, the wings of a fifth-order ghost butterfly, and semi-dormant winterflower linden. He then spots the shell of a sixth-order wall crab, noting it can be used to create defensive equipment. Recognizing all of these as good stuff, he declares he'll take them all and start storing everything in his ring. An hour later, Zhao Hu impatiently wonders why Han Zhan hasn't come out yet, noting everyone has been waiting for a long time. Just then, Han Zhan emerges, casually walking out with Yue. Yue curiously asks Han Zhan what he took, but he simply says he'll tell her when they get back and suggests they go home. Zhao Hu's subordinate observes, puzzled, why Han Zhan didn't seem to take anything. Zhao Hu decides to contact the administrator to inquire. On the phone, Zhao Hu asks the administrator how many things Han Zhan took, considering he spent so much time picking. The administrator replies he took 5. Zhao Hu, misinterpreting, comments that 5 items is a bit too many, but vows Han Zhan will pay for it with interest. However, the administrator corrects him, clarifying it's not 5 items, but 50%. Han Zhan has taken half of the treasury. Zhao Hu is utterly shocked. His subordinate, overhearing, questions if Han Zhan is crazy to take 50%, remarking that he's gone too far and that the City Guardians organization won't let him get away with emptying half the treasury. Zhao Hu, clenching his phone, instructs Xiao Wang to immediately report what happened to headquarters, certain they will intervene. However, Xiao Wang dejectedly informs him that he has already reported it, and headquarters only responded with 2 words. When Zhao Hu asks what they were, Xiao Wang replies, "Nicely done." Zhao Hu is left speechless and aghast. Later, back at their residence, Han Zhan is sitting on the sofa, remarking that they'll see if he, Zhao Hu, will be cocky again after this lesson. Yue, wrapped in a towel, approaches him, stating it's late and suggests they go to bed together. A flustered Hanjan questions her, and Yue explains she's been worried about losing him since he got hurt and declares that no matter what, she won't let him go tonight. As she leans in, someone bursts inside, slamming the door, interrupting them. A young woman in pajamas, Li Lingzhen, enters, asking who is making so much noise in the middle of the night. She then sees Hanjan and Yue on the sofa and questions when another person came into the house. Hanjan, equally surprised, asks who she is. Li Lingzhen retorts that he lives in her grandfather's house but doesn't know who she is. Hanjan realizes she must be the master's granddaughter. She confirms, introducing herself as Li Lingzhen and acknowledging she's heard of Hanjan. A system-like interface appears, identifying Li Lingzhen as an E-level contract spirit, her transformed form being the Shenong tripod with divinity. Hanjan is shocked to realize she's one of the 10 great ancient magic weapons. Hanjan then awkwardly asks if it's okay for her to wear pajamas here. Li Lingzhen explains it's her most comfortable state at home, which helps her find inspiration and be creative. When Yue questions creative, Li Lingzhen asks if her grandfather didn't tell them she's an online best-selling author. She then apologizes for bothering them and asks if they want to continue what they were doing. If not, she cheekily offers to do it herself, moving towards Hanjan. Yue quickly intervenes, protesting that they just met and have no emotional foundation. Li Lingzhen questions why an emotional foundation is necessary for signing a contract. When Yue clarifies she meant just signing a contract, Li Lingzhen confirms. Hanjan explains that her E-level talent is indeed divine, and if she makes a contract with him, he can use divine light to help her awaken for the second time. Li Lingzhen asks if this is true, and eagerly suggests they sign the contract quickly. As Li Lingzhen moves to sign the contract with Hanjan, he nervously asks what she's doing, particularly questioning what signing a contract has to do with taking off clothes. Li Lingzhen explains that as a best-selling author, in her books, contracts are only made after close contact. Hanjan and Yue are left speechless. Hanjan then sighs, deciding he'll have to help her out, and initiates the divine light as golden chains envelop them. Li Lingzhen cries out as the ancient divine weapon, Shenong Tripod, manifests. She remarks on the heat, feeling a stream of warmth entering her body and expressing comfort. A system notification details that the Shenong Tripod, in its transformed E-level spirit form, can refine natural treasures. Activating the tripod allows it to absorb the true essence of these treasures, concentrating the spiritual energy to restore its true appearance. Hanjan observes that refining the true essence means this talent can extract spiritual energy, which could then be used to obtain pure spiritual energy at will and achieve breakthroughs. Li Lingzhen, looking at her hands, wonders if this is her talent. Hanjan compliments her talent and suggests they try it right away. Yue, meanwhile, announces she'll get a glass of water and leaves, musing to herself that it's surprising this little sister is also a divine-level spirit. In another room, while Yue was getting a glass of water, she heard Hanjan asking if Li Lingzhen was ready because he was coming in. She then complains, "Wait, slow down. It's too fast. It hurts." And then, "Okay, put it in." Hanjan confirms he'll put it in right away. Yue, shocked after hearing all of this, burst into the room demanding to know what they're doing, but they were actually just refining material by putting it in Li Lingzhen, who is right now in her Shenong tripod form. Hanjan asks Xia Yue if something was wrong, and she replies that it's nothing. Shenong Tripod then announces the material has been refined and tells them to take it. A glowing orb of energy appears, and Hanjan marvels at how much Li Lingzhen extracted, calling her amazing. Yue asks what it is, and Hanjan explains it's a spiritual energy pill that can increase spiritual energy by at least 1%. Xia Yue is impressed. Suddenly, Li Lingzhen jumps on Hanjan, stating the alchemy fire in her body hasn't been dispelled yet, and urges him to hurry and extinguish the burning, refined, true fire. Hanjan cries out, "Wait, don't!" Hanjan pulls Xia Yue for help, and she falls onto Hanjan as well. After the whole night of this and that. The next morning, Hanjan, looking disheveled between Li Lingzhen and Yue, remarks on how tired he is after a rough night. Li Lingzhen comments that she didn't expect him to be so capable and that she's learned a lot. Yue adds that these exchanges have made her feel the power in her body become much more refined. Hanjan then declares it's time to get down to business. When Li Lingjun asks what business, Hanjan explains they need to investigate the Eclipse Zerg Queen and search for the missing members of Team 027. Li Lingjun asks who is missing, and Yue presents a photo of Hong Yingwei, identifying her. Li Lingjun, looking at the photo, says she seems to have seen this person before and wonders if she goes to the dance hall at night. When Yue asks how she knows, Li Lingjun explains she frequently visits Breeze Dance Hall, the largest in Deep Blue City. Hanjan is pleased, not expecting to get a clue so soon. He then takes out a spray bottle, instructing them to spray it on, and then they'll head to the dance hall. Both women react to the terrible smell. Hanjan explains it's heather spray, to which Zergs are very sensitive. The scent makes them extremely irritable and go crazy. They arrive at Breeze Dance Hall, a lively place. Hanjan approaches the bartender, asking if they have a woman named Bai Shuang there. By the way, Bai Shuang is Hong Yingwei's real name. The bartender, with a sinister grin and visible scars, repeats the name Bai Shuang. As Hanjan confirms it, he indeed uttered the name Bai Shuang, inadvertently triggering an announcement that he would cover everyone's expenses in the crowded establishment, much to his surprise as the crowd erupted in cheers. The bartender then approached Hanjan, explaining that a customer named Yi Fan had previously run up a large tab promising someone would come, say, Bai Shuang, and settle his debts. The bartender also handed Hanjan a wooden box left by Yi Fan. Inside the box, Hanjan discovered a note. Li Lingjun and Xie Yue looked on as he read it. The note detailed the history of Yi Ming, a squad leader who, after a successful mission and a celebration at the Breeze Dance Hall, was mysteriously transferred and never seen again, with Zhao Hu becoming the acting captain. Crucially, it also described the Eclipse Zerg mother's monthly reproduction cycle, stating that killing the mother would eliminate all her offspring. From this, Hanjan deduced that if the cycle began in February, as stated, there would now be 7 parasites. Excusing himself to the restroom, Hanjan encountered a man who reacted strangely to the heather flower scent he perceived, then angrily attacked Hanjan, shouting about hating heather flowers. Hanjan, his eyes glowing, easily subdued the attacker, who was then revealed to be an Eclipse Zerg host. As the Eclipse Zerg came out, he crushed it. Then Li Lingjun and Xia Yue rushed in, and Hanjan explained he had eliminated an Eclipse Zerg parasitizing the owner of the Breeze Dance Hall, adding there were 7 such creatures in total. As they discussed the situation, with Li Lingjun theorizing that Yi Ming's teammates might also be hosts, another man suddenly attacked Hanjan with a knife, shouting his name. Hanjan swiftly neutralized this second attacker as well, expelling another Zerg from him. Xia Yue identified this second man as one of Zhao Hu's subordinates. Connecting the dots, Hanjan realized all the infected individuals, Yi Ming, the dance hall owner, Hong Yingwei, the Zerg killed by Yi Fan, and everyone were linked to the Breeze Dance Hall and ultimately to Zhao Hu. With this revelation, Hanjan declared he knew where Yi Fan was going. The scene then shifted to Zhao Hu, who was relaxing comfortably, while a woman nearby expressed her admiration for his power. Their moment was interrupted as Yi Fan kicked open the door and angrily called out Zhao Hu's name, ready for a confrontation. Yi Fan, filled with rage, accused Zhao Hu of killing Yi Ming, usurping the captain's position, and using the Eclipse Zerg to corrupt talented individuals. Zhao Hu, however, callously dismissed Yi Fan's grief, taunting him about his deceased woman, and questioning why he wasn't mourning instead of making a scene. Zhao Hu then revealed his reinforcements, a group of armed men who surrounded Yi Fan while questioning if Yi Fan wasn't afraid of them. Zhao Hu then ordered his men to execute Yi Fan on the spot for openly attacking a guardian. Just as Yi Fan prepared to fight, Hanjan, along with his wives, intervened, striking down Zhao Hu's men with a blast of energy. Zhao Hu recognized Hanjan while Yi Fan questioned Hanjan's presence. Hanjan retorted that if they hadn't come, they would have had to watch Yi Fan be assaulted alone. One of Zhao Hu's remaining men asked if Hanjan was sure he wanted to side with an assassin. Hanjan, however, declared it a feud between them and Zhao Hu, warning anyone not wanting to die to get out of the way. Seeing words wouldn't work, the remaining henchmen charged, but Hanjan, with a dismissive sound, swiftly incapacitated them all. Yi Fan then noticed Hanjan's improved fighting skill in such a short time, just as Li Lingjun alerted Hanjan that Zhao Hu was escaping. Hanjan immediately pursued, grabbing Zhao Hu by the shirt and telling him to accept his fate before striking him down. As Zhao Hu lay defeated, cursing Hanjan, a winged Zerg creature emerged from his body. Hanjan swiftly destroyed it with a punch, noting that it was out, but then expressed surprise that it wasn't the mother Zerg. Immediately, other individuals entered, accusing Hanjan of killing Captain Zhao. They then mockingly asked if Hanjan truly believed the Guardians were the most powerful group in Deep Blue City, revealing that the mayor held the true power. Hanjan realized they had fallen into a trap. A flashback to half an hour earlier showed the mayor being approached by his assistant with a document to sign. As he asked for the file, an Eclipse Zerg emerged from his head, horrifying his assistant. Back in the present, Hanjan, sensing the danger, urged his companions, Yifan, Li Lingzhen, and Xia Yue, to leave quickly and find their master to help resolve the crisis. Xia Yue initially refused, wanting to face whatever happened with him, but Hanjan insisted there was no time left and pushed them to go. As they fled, the now Zerg-controlled mayor issued an order for the arrest of Hanjan, leader of the Guardian Squad Unit 0527, for the suspected assassination of acting Captain Zhao Hu. The mayor then smiled, pleased that though the bait was eaten quickly, the fish was hooked. Later, as Hanjan walked away from the building where he had left his companions, he resolved internally that he must separate from them to prevent them from being dragged into his troubles. Suddenly, a man on a hovering disc appeared above him, accusing Hanjan of killing a key organization member and demanding his swift surrender. The man then forcefully commanded Hanjan to kneel, and Hanjan was unexpectedly forced to his knees. The scene then shifted to a serene pavilion where Hanjan's master was calmly drinking with someone. A figure with a black cloak in front of the master commented on his calmness. The teacher should be in a hurry because the successor the master chose, Hanjan, was already in prison with conclusive evidence and would be publicly executed the next day. The teacher, with a manifestation of a tiger spirit behind him, questioned if he had to do this to an old friend. The man, however, stated that even killing his clone would be useless, as Old Shang had prepared many clones for each of them. As the man leaves, the master cryptically warns that more surprises were to come. After the man departed, Jing Xuan, the person in charge of the second war zone, appeared and asked if the teacher needed help with his junior brother, Han Zhan. The teacher mused that he had let them run amok for a long time, but couldn't identify who was behind it to close the net. He then revealed his strategic thinking. They thought they could control him by dragging in Han Zhan, using Zhao Hu, but he had instead used Han Zhan as bait. He looked at a picture of himself in his tea, remarking that the world is like a chess game, each game new, and thanked Han Zhan for his hard work. Meanwhile, Han Zhan was shown tied to a chair in a cell, confronted by an old man with a long beard. The man asked if Han Zhan still refused to plead guilty, to which Han Zhan defiantly questioned what crime he had committed. The old man punches him, telling him to wake up, stating Li Shutong, his master, wouldn't save him and offered two choices. First, join them, not caring who they were, understanding that while Li Shutong represented the past, they represented the future. Or secondly, continue as he was and be publicly executed the next day. Han Zhan then deduced that this man was the one who deliberately let Yi Ming find the Fourth Order Eclipse Zerg and bring it to Deep Blue City. The man confirmed this, explaining that for them, Zergs weren't enemies, but, if used correctly, the most powerful tool. Understanding this, Han Zhan declared he knew what to choose. When asked, he defiantly stated he chose a third option, cursing his captor, who angrily retorted that Han Zhan was overestimating himself. The next day, a large screen publicly announced that Captain Han Zhan of the 0527 team had betrayed and killed important organization members and would be executed. The Zerg-controlled mayor was informed that everything was ready for the execution. The mayor then inquired if the three who escaped the previous day had been caught. His subordinate replied not yet, as they were cunning and likely hiding in a villa. The mayor dismissed him. Alone, the mayor wondered why Han Zhan was still so calm and if he had another trump card. Han Zhan, on the other hand, recalled that his own master had hinted he should let them loose, and that the master would take care of everything, making Han Zhan ponder the reason behind that hint, and whether the master already knew everything and was setting up a plan. In the crowd gathered for the execution, people recognized Hanjan as the spirit master who had awakened SSS-level talent and wondered how he became a traitor. The mayor then addressed the citizens of Deep Blue City, stating it was a sad day as they were losing a young genius due to his personal grudge leading him to kill innocent people. He further accused Hanjan of colluding with the Zerg to disrupt peace, asking the crowd if such a person shouldn't be killed. The crowd roared in agreement, chanting, "Kill, kill, kill!" The mayor, smiling, told Hanjan he was dead today, then ordered the execution. An executioner pulled a lever, and a guillotine blade descended towards Hanjan, who faced it with a calm, determined expression. As the guillotine blade stopped in the midway, the executioner, noticing the machine was broken, questioned what was happening. The Zerg-controlled mayor, enraged, demanded to know who dared to disrupt the execution. The blue-haired female, Shang-Si Ting, whom Hanjan saved at that time, then appeared addressing the city lord, the mayor, stating Hanjan was framed and that she hoped the mayor wouldn't punish him. The mayor, however, accused her of colluding with a criminal and questioned if she was getting involved. At that moment, Li Lingzhen and Hanjan and Yifan also appeared, declaring they didn't agree with the execution either. The scene then cuts back to Zhao Hu's master. The cloaked man was here again, stating Hanjan had already been sent to the guillotine and that the teacher had lost. The teacher, however, calmly asserted that the game was not over yet, finding it too easy with no fun and no challenge. The man simply told him to wait and see, and then he disappeared. As he left, someone from the phone, I think it's old Shang, informs the teacher that the cloaked man had left too easily and that they were unable to track him. He then revealed they had found the organization behind Old Li and that it was called Breaking Dawn. Back at the execution site, the crowd murmured about someone daring to stop the execution, and the merchants also being involved, remarking it wasn't a simple matter. Shang-Si Ting addressed the crowd, claiming they had all been deceived by Kang Zhan, the mayor, asserting that Han Zhan was not a criminal, but a true hero to the people. She then urged everyone to please look over the big screen, where she showed how he helped everyone. The crowd, watching this, began to question if Han Zhan was truly a traitor. Suddenly, the long-bearded man from the interrogation cell appeared, silencing everyone with his powerful aura. Yifan and Xia Yuwei noted his strong presence and questioned who he was. The long-bearded man declared that killing Han Zhan was their organization's goal and no one could interfere, then launched a massive flaming hand attack, proclaiming Han Zhan must die. However, the teacher intervened, manifesting a huge energy construct that blocked the attack, shocking the long-bearded man. The teacher also hit him, without showing himself to anyone. Some onlookers wondered what had happened, not having seen the attack clearly, while Shang-Si Ting was able to spot the teacher. From above, the mayor jumped, now visible, and told Han Zhan that no one could save him that day. Meanwhile, Han Zhan, standing up, enraged that the master, the teacher, had made a move, decided the time had come. The mayor launched a powerful punch at Han Zhan, yelling for him to go to hell. Han Zhan, however, dodged the attack with incredible speed, appearing behind the mayor and striking him with a fist. As the mayor fell, a large, winged mother Zerg burst from the mayor's body. Han Zhan swiftly grabbed it, questioning where it thought it was going, and then crushed the creature in his hand. Onlookers, including a purple-haired woman and a blue-haired man, reacted with shock, one asking what that was and the other identifying it as a Zerg. Han Zhan then held up the remains of the mother Zerg, addressing the crowd, explaining it was a fourth-order Eclipse Zerg that parasitized people and subverted relationships, asserting that everything he did was to protect humanity. Nearby, observing the deceased mayor, a woman with reddish-brown hair and a man in a white coat, acknowledged that the Eclipse Zerg's appearance explained the City Lord's strange behavior, with the man adding that Han Zhan's timely intervention prevented disastrous consequences. The teacher then appeared before Han Zhan, asking about his experience and if he had felt the difference between life and death. Han Zhan admitted it felt good to let the master clean up the mess, but resolved that next time he would rather be the one playing the game. The teacher praised Han Zhan for a job well done, confirming the mother Zerg was dead and the remaining Eclipse Zergs had been found. However, the teacher then lamented hitting him, the long-bearded man, too hard earlier, thus missing a chance to find anything about Dawn. When Hanjan questioned this, the teacher explained that Dawn was a mysterious organization lurking among the city guardians, but no further information had yet been found, a revelation that shocked Hanjan and people. Shortly after, Yi Fan approached Hanjan, informing him that Hong Yingwei's body had been found. When Hanjan asked where, Yi Fan explained that a total of 1,001 people had lost their lives in the incident, and her body, along with those of others, was in a coffin for burial at sea. The scene then depicted numerous coffins floating on the water. Hanjan, accompanied by the teacher and his companions, looked on somberly, with Hanjan apologizing to Hong Yingwei for failing to protect her. However, in a shocking turn, Hong Yingwei's eyes snapped open within her coffin. And I don't fucking know what's happening here. This manhwa is full of confusion. Later, while Hanjan was dining with everyone, the teacher informed Hanjan that after the last Eclipse Zerg incident, he and his companions had all broken through to the 3rd level. Lingjin was shown to be level 31, her transformed spirit form being the ancient magic weapon Shenong Tripod, with the divinity to refine true essence. Yu Wei, also level 31, had her transformed spirit form as the ancient magic weapon Fuxi Qin, possessing various song-based divinities like spiritual defense and soul cleansing. Shang Xiting was also there and playfully asked Hanjan to contract with her when she awakened her spirit, but Hanjan explained he could only contract with spirits possessing divinity that could most help his own kind of spirit. The teacher then asked Hanjan about his future plans, noting that there was nothing worthwhile for training in backwater cities after reaching the 3rd level. Hanjan declared his intention to continue growing stronger and to carve a path out of the Zerg threat step by step. Hearing this, the teacher stated he would contact Wei Qing to pick Hanjan up the next day for training at the 2nd battlefield, where the 1st war zone had been fighting Zergs for years. He clarified, however, that since it was training, Hanjan's contract spirits could not accompany him, as their cultivation methods differed from spirit masters, and he had arranged a better place for them. Hanjan accepted, expressing his gratitude. The scene then shifted to the Dragon Kingdom, the Frontline battlefield, depicting intense combat. Amidst roaring giant snakes and soldiers firing weapons, wounded were being evacuated. A man was confronted by another soldier, Old Zhang, who questioned his return. Xiaoya retorted, pointing out Old Zhang's own squad had lost 3 men and he had retreated. Old Zhang angrily defended his actions, stating their 5-man squad was down to 2, necessitating waiting for reinforcements. Xiaoya scornfully questioned his shame in waiting with such a depleted squad, then declared he was on an elite mission, revealing glowing symbols on his arm as a military aircraft landed nearby. Hanjan disembarked and introduced himself as a new soldier to Xiaoya and Old Zhang. Xiaoya immediately questioned if Hanjan was alone and where his contract spirit was. When Hanjan replied they were at home, Xiaoya exploded in anger, asking if Hanjan was kidding and if he had come to a battlefield alone to die. Old Zhang, however, advised Xiaoya to calm down, remarking that this young man was not easy to mess with. He observed Hanjan's attire, deducing he wasn't from the local combat spirit master recruiting camp, and was likely a nobleman from the city. Xiaoya, unimpressed, retorted if he looked like an idiot, commenting on Hanjan's tender skin and predicting he would be a pain in the ass. Xiaoya suggests that Old Zhang should take Hanjan to his team first. However, Old Zhang vehemently refuses, reminding their prior agreement that Xiaoya would choose first and questioning the attempt to renege on their word. Eventually, Xiaoya sighs and concedes, telling the other to forget it. Subsequently, Xiaoya instructs Hanjan, who introduces himself as Hanjan, a 3rd-level spirit master. Upon meeting the team, the captain, Xiaoya, a 4th-level spirit master, formally explains that Hanjan will be recruited. He introduces the other teammates, Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian. Shi Xiaoqian complains about getting wet during a mission and then, finding her clothes stuck, asks Hanjan for assistance. After he helps, she thanks him, to which he politely responds. Shi Xiaoqian then questions Captain Xiaoya about Hanjan being their new teammate, sarcastically commenting on his solitary arrival and lack of a human form spirit, deeming it unprofessional. Hanjan then presents gifts, level 6 armor, to his new teammates, which they accept with surprise and gratitude, warmly welcoming him. Captain Xiaoya, however, declines the gift, explaining that as a mecha operator, he doesn't need protective gear, while internally musing about Hanjan's apparent noble background and generosity. Captain Xiaoya explains that he is going to get the next task and supplies while the rest go first, to which Hanjan agrees. Later, Hanjan curiously asks others if Captain Xiaoya is truly a mecha operator. Kai Shifang clarifies that old Xiao's spirit had perished on the battlefield, leading the war zone to offer him a second chance as a mecha pilot. Shi Xiaoqian adds that Xiaoya particularly despises inactive bigwigs, but then she apologizes because considers Hanjan a bigwig. Xiaoya, furious, quickly tells Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian to stop talking and prepare for the mission while tossing supplies to the team. He announced their mission level blue to cut off the descendants. When Hanjan questions this, the captain elaborates on the Azaki snake tribe's rapid reproduction, which makes their reinforcement speed vastly superior. He explains that this rapid reproduction led to a stalemate with the first war zone a month prior. This balance was only disrupted by the return of Wei Qing, the first war zone's leader, who decisively broke the enemy's supply lines, achieving a staggering casualty ratio. However, Wei Qing was then engaged by 4 8th-level Snake Kings, leading their fight away from the main battlefield. The current mission, originating from the second war zone, involves destroying dozens of identified snake nests, with their team being chosen due to their proximity and mobility. With time running out, he urges them to move. The team affirms and departs. As they travel, with Captain Xiao Ya in his mecha and the others on foot, he alerts them to their approach to the target location. Hanjan soon spots a massive molted snake skin draped through the forest, and upon his inquiry, the captain explains it's a sign of Azaki snake advancement. Hanjan quickly deduces that the snakes have hidden their eggs within it. The captain got the info and confirmed that the skin is over 6,700 meters long, laden with hundreds of millions of eggs, identifying it as their target nest. Suddenly, a cracking sound from an egg startles Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian. As more eggs begin to hatch, they scream in terror. The shockwaves throw Captain Xiaoya's mecha off of the cliff. Hanjan also jumped towards the mecha, shouting, while Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian desperately called out for their captain and Hanjan. Hanjan was able to reach Captain Xiaoya's mecha. The captain admonishes Hanjan, insisting he focus on the mission and that he doesn't require saving. However, Hanjan, with his full power, throws Xiaoya's mecha up, and he landed safely while Hanjan fell off the cliff. Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian anxiously called out Hanjan's name. On the other hand, Captain Xiaoya is perplexed by the immense strength Hanjan displayed. Kai Shifang mournfully suggests to the captain that Hanjan couldn't have survived the fall from such a precipitous cliff. Overcome with guilt, the captain laments Hanjan's apparent demise, taking responsibility for the situation. But, to their astonishment, Hanjan climbs to the cliff edge, calls out, confirming he is still alive and requesting assistance. Relieved, Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian rush to him, expressing their fright and joy at his survival. Once Hanjan is safe, Captain Xiaoya reprimands him, questioning the wisdom of his self-sacrificial act and reiterating that their priority is the elimination of the snake nest. Hanjan dutifully acknowledges the captain's words. Just then, Hanjan spots a young Izanagi snake uttering a concerned, "not good," as a multitude of snakes are revealed to have hatched. Captain Xiaoya cautions Hanjan, while Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian, overwhelmed by the sheer number of baby snakes, voice their fear of impending doom. As the snakes advance, Captain Xiaoya instructs the others to flee while he provides cover. Shi Xiaoqian, however, despairs at their chances of escape due to the overwhelming numbers. At this critical juncture, Hanjan makes a golden shield, covering themselves and all the shanks inside, causing the advancing snakes to pause. Captain Xiaoya expresses his surprise, and Kai Shifang observes that the snakes appear to be bowing to them. Hanjan then directs the still startled captain to incinerate the creatures. Complying, the captain's mecha unleashes a torrent of fire, engulfing the snakes. With the immediate threat neutralized, Kai Shifang inquires about Hanjan's actions. Hanjan cryptically explains he merely used a piece of equipment to intimidate them, an explanation Shi Xiaoqian finds incredible. Captain Xiaoya confirms the successful completion of their immediate task. He then confronts Hanjan about his true identity, remarking on his dissimilarity to other nobles. Hanjan maintains his earlier claim of being a third-rank spiritual contract master, not a hidden expert. A statement Captain Xiaoya finds difficult to believe, just as an alert sounds from the mecha's console. Hanjan asks about the alert, and Captain Xiaoya reports that the broader mission to eradicate the snake nests has largely failed, with their team being one of fewer than 10 to succeed, a success he attributes to Hanjan's critical assistance. He then outlines a new plan, noting the marked reinforcement points for the Izanagi snake clan and the key paths the newly hatched snakes must traverse. He proposes to Hanjan that they leverage his snake-controlling ability to ambush and eliminate these reinforcements. Hanjan, however, expresses doubt about their ability to destroy all the snakes, but asserts that failing to act or flee will result in their own certain demise. Their discussion is abruptly interrupted by the menacing appearance of a massive, 5th-rank Izanagi snake. Kai Shifang identifies the colossal serpent as the snake's nest guardian, prompting Captain Xiaoya from within his mecha to exclaim at its immense size. Hanjan urgently tells the others to flee, while Kai Shifang despairs, believing they cannot defeat such a formidable foe. As they run, Captain Xiaoya declares he will cover their retreat with his mecha, which then unleashes a powerful energy blast at the Guardian. The Guardian retaliates with a devastating attack, striking the mecha. Hanzan cries out for the captain as the snake continues its assault. The mecha is grievously damaged, and Captain Xiaoya is injured. Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian express their concern for him just before the massive snake guardian looms over them, letting out a deafening roar. Suddenly, a brilliant light envelops Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian. Kai Shifang recognizes it as the 6th-tier armor Hanjan had given them, and Shi Xiaoqian expresses their relief at being saved. However, their respite is short-lived as the snake guardian spews a corrosive green substance that begins to eat through the protective barrier. The armor fails, and both Kai Shifang and Shi Xiaoqian are struck by the corrosive attack. They perish in an instantly. Hanjan, witnessing this, reacts with alarm. As the snake hisses menacingly, Hanjan curses and then, with a determined look, activates an urgent lock open. The snake lunges, but Hanjan evades, initiating a dragon soars maneuver and then calling forth the wind. The snake summons a crystal-like projectile from its head and strikes Hanjan, which he wasn't able to dodge. Hanjan struggles, acknowledging through gritted teeth that the 5th-tier guardian is too strong for a direct confrontation. The snake guardian roars once more and then lunges and is about to swallow Hanjan whole. Moments later, however, the massive snake collapses, dead as a big sword hit it on head. Hanjan, bewildered, looks as a blue-haired woman descends on top of the slain beast. He expresses his gratitude to the senior for saving his life. The woman, introducing herself as Gongyang Jin, chuckles and clarifies that she is not a senior from the Great Xia. She reveals she is from the City of Extreme Evil, also known by spirit contract masters as the Land of Exile. She explains that this city is primarily populated by exiles unwelcome in any nation, forming a massive concentration camp, also referred to as the Lower District. Gongyang Jin continues, stating that the evil of its inhabitants lies in their unrestrained pursuit of desires, disregarding others' lives. Hanjan internally questions her seriousness, while a system-like display reveals her to be Gongyang Jin, an SSS-level spirit contract, an 8th-tier Valkyrie whose transformed form is the Destruction Greatblade. He is stunned by the revelation that she is an 8th-tier Valkyrie. Gongyang Jin then asks Hanjan for the name of the song he played earlier, remarking that it amplified every cell in her body, making her feel capable of defeating even a snake emperor with a single blow. She then decisively declares that she's taking Hanjan back with her to be her exclusive combat support, much to his surprise. Hanjan, stressed, requests Gongyang Jin to wait a moment. She, with a disdainful expression, questions if a mere Tier 3 spirit contract master dares to resist her. Hanjan explains that his mission is incomplete and he cannot leave. Gongyang Jin then provocatively asks what he would do if she were to forcefully take him. Hanjan resolutely declares he would end his own life. Impressed by his resolve, Gongyang Jin inquires what it would take for him to accompany her. Hanjan, internally strategizing to use her apparent fondness for him to his advantage, proposes that he will go with her if she helps him completely eliminate the newly hatched Izanagi insect swarm on the battlefield. Gongyang Jin, remarking that she expected a more unreasonable request, readily agrees. Hanjan then presents a map detailing the Izanagi serpent nest distribution, pointing out 3 nearby locations where they can intercept the hatchlings and subsequently support the main battlefield, coordinating with the Great Xia forces for a final assault. Gongyang Jin nonchalantly agrees to this plan. However, suddenly a demonic energy emerges from her back, exclaiming that her wounds are acting up, causing Han Zhan to question what is happening as she screams for him to run. Witnessing her in pain, Han Zhan, bewildered, decided to use healing magic and heal her. As he uses his magic, demonic energy disappears from her. She looks confused. She asks if this was his doing, and he, in turn, explains that he used purity powder. It has healing and suppressive effects, a minor effort on his part, but then inquires about her wound. Gongyang Jin reveals she was injured by a Tier 9 insect emperor named Mo. Although she escaped, it left hidden damage that allows Mo's aura to control her and force her into a killing state. Han Zhan is taken aback by the terrifying power of a Tier 9 insect emperor. He then asks if he can examine her wound. She quickly starts undressing, saying that he is bold to take advantage of the situation. She at last warned him that she will gouge out his eyes afterward. Han Zhan examines the wound on her back, noting it isn't deep and is treatable, while Gongyang Jin is inwardly shocked that he touched it directly. As he applies healing to the wound, she moans. He then decided to use the Shenong tripod, remarking that the purity powder suppresses the wound but cannot completely dispel it, so he will try this. Gongyang Jin, surprised, notes that as a spirit contract master, he even has 2 spirit contracts. Han Zhan unleashes a powerful golden energy he calls Life Genesis, which causes Gongyang Jin to moan with pleasure. Then he later explained that the treatment has already healed her wound halfway. She playfully asks if he can do it again because it felt amazing. Han Zhan explains that, as she saw earlier, he used his innate ability to absorb the essence of countless insect corpses to gain energy, and would need a similar amount of insect flesh and blood to perform the healing again. Gongyang Jin then reminds him that their next task is to intercept the Izanagi hatchlings. With their plan reaffirmed, they head off. A drone monitors a gorge entrance where a large number of young Azaki snakes are reported to be flooding in. In a command center, an officer receives this information, grimly noting that the Azaki snake nests were discovered too late. Another officer suggests tasking General Guan Shan, who possesses the talent to move mountains and fill seas with his qilin to block the entrances. However, a subordinate informs them that General Guan Shan has already made his move. Lin Jingxuan acknowledges that while the insect paste from the Izanagi snake tribe is potent, General Guanshan's countermove is also very clear. He then sternly declares that General Guanshan is not permitted to retreat this time, implying a dire situation. Meanwhile, Han Zhan and Gongyang Jin arrive at a location teeming with Izanagi snakes, with Gongyang Jin remarking that they arrived just in time. As she prepares to engage, Han Zhan interjects, stating that he will take the first wave. Gongyang Jin questions his certainty, and he, with a determined look, leaps into the fray. He exclaims that this is a great opportunity to replenish energy and then shouts for the beasts to die. Back in the command center, everyone was shocked to see Han Zhan there. Another officer marvels at how he charged in, questioning if he is seeking death. Han Zhan, surrounded by snakes, states his original intent was to use his skill to fill his stomach, but there are too many of them for even him to handle. As the snakes roar and close in, he finds himself cornered. Just as he braces for impact, Gongyang Jin intervenes, swiftly dispatching the attacking snakes with a powerful energy wave, telling him to get out of her way. Han Zhan thanks her, but insists he can still fight. Gongyang Jin remarks that his display was indeed good. Han Zhan then declares, "Third lock, open," explaining that this activates the third of 10-inch Jin locks, unleashing the hidden power. He channels this power into a massive energy blast. Gongyang Jin observes with interest, noting that he can actually power up this way, and she also jumps in, stating she will help him. In the command center, one officer exclaims at the sight of "that young man," while other asks who the other person is. Lin Jingxuan identifies Gongyang Jin as being from the City of Extreme Evil, a place he describes as full of lunatics and villains, where the strong prey on the weak, and notes that she is even paired with the young man. After the battle, amidst the carnage of slain snakes, Han Zhan confirms that all the Izanagi snakes in the area have been eliminated. He then informs Gongyang Jin that he has accumulated enough flesh and blood essence and can proceed with the next healing session. Gongyang Jin agrees, and Hanjan instructs her to prepare as he will start the ritual. As he begins, Gongyang Jin's wound emits a dark energy. He announces it's starting, and she moans in pleasure. He then notices a black thorn in the wound and asks if he should pull it out or leave it. Gongyang Jin, through gritted teeth, instructs him to pull it out. As he extracts the thorn with a swirling energy, she lets out a louder, more intense moan of pleasure.